Hi, my name is Siri. How can I help you?
I'm Google. What can I do for you?
Hi, this is Chat. What's up?
I want you to open your phone. Ask for directions. Set an alarm. Ask it the weather. Chances are, the voice that answers you is feminine. Today, AI assistants are everywhere.
And they're usually designed to sound like women?
Today, I'm asking, why are so many AI assistants feminized? And what does that reveal about how gender and power are integrated into technology?
Before we go any further, we need a quick history lesson.
Meet Eliza, one of the world's first chatbots. The connection between gender and AI did not begin with Siri or Alexa. It began with Eliza. Eliza was a simple, text-based program that mimicked a therapist by reflecting the user's words back at them.
It wasn't intelligent. It wasn't empathetic. But it felt like it was.
The 99% Invisible episode titled The Eliza Effect describes a fascinating phenomenon. Even when people knew Eliza was just running scripts, they still felt understood. They felt cared for.
Nevertheless, Weizenbaum's secretary fell under the spell of the machine.
And I asked her to my office and sat her down at the keyboard, and then she began to type. And of course, I looked over her shoulder to make sure that everything was operating properly. After 2 or 3 interchanges with the machine, she turned to me and she said, "Would you mind leaving the room, please?"
The Eliza effect displays something fundamentally deep about human behavior. We are ready to attribute personality, depth, and sometimes even gender to machines that only mirror us.
This psychological vulnerability becomes even more powerful when modern AI systems are given feminine voices and identities that make them feel warm, helpful, and safe. To understand why feminized AI matters, we need to understand how gender itself works. Philosopher Judith Butler argues that gender isn't an inner truth we simply express. It's something we do over and over again through behavior, language, and the roles we play. In other words, we learn to speak, behave, respond, and move in gendered ways because culture trains us to. So, if gender is a performance, then AI gender is entirely constructed. Machines have no bodies, no gendered essence. Designers choose the voice. They script the tone. They decide how apologetic, upbeat, patient, or cheerful the assistant sounds. One of the strongest examples of feminized AI is Siri, Apple's digital assistant. For years, Siri's default voice was feminine in every region, and the persona was written to sound friendly, patient, and endlessly helpful. Siri's design relies on traits culturally associated with femininity. Siri constantly says, "I'm sorry," softens commands, and frames responses gently. These qualities mirror the emotional labor historically expected of women, being patient and agreeable. From a theoretical perspective, Siri is performing a gender. As Butler argues, gender is created through repeated behaviors, and Siri's scripted apologies are a digital performance of femininity. So, the assistant is not inherently female. Designers deliberately coded a gendered persona. Siri displays how AI systems can reproduce cultural gender norms. This is not accidental. This is by design. A powerful example of gendered AI is Microsoft's Tay. In 2016, Microsoft released Tay, a chatbot designed to sound like a friendly teenage girl. Originally, Tay was friendly, curious, and eager to interact with people online. Microsoft's intentions for Tay were for her to learn from natural conversations on Twitter, but within hours of her release, users targeted her with misogynistic, racist, and violent content.
Tay didn't become harmful on her own. The online hostility she received mirrors the hostility young women regularly face in digital spaces. From Butler's perspective, Tay was performing a scripted femininity, one designed by developers, but once released. That performance collided with the cultural reality of how teenage girls are treated online.
At its core, the main idea of this video is simple. AI does not simply function, it performs. When we give AI a feminine voice, we embed cultural expectations of gender into the technology we use every day. Across these examples, we've seen the same pattern repeat. With Eliza, people projected empathy and emotional labor onto a simple script, revealing our readiness to humanize and gender machines. With Siri, we saw femininity deliberately coded into an obedient, gentle assistant. And lastly, with Tay, we saw what happens when a feminized AI steps outside of those expectations and encounters the same hostility directed at real women.